October 17th marks the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty. It is also China's National Poverty Relief Day. Over the past 7 decades, China has lifted at least 850 million people out of extreme poverty. That accounts for more than 70% of the global total. Chinese President Xi Jinping is calling for the fight against poverty to continue, saying efforts should not be stopped until a complete victory is achieved. He says China is still determined to eradicate extreme poverty within this year, despite the impact of COVID-19. China now has 52 impoverished counties, which means 780 of them have been lifted out of poverty since 2015. Between 2012 and 2018, China's impoverished population was reduced by more than 80 million. The extreme poverty rate also dropped by almost 10%. By the end of 2019, the number of impoverished residents in Chinese rural areas fell to 5.5 million. And coming right up, our special coverage on poverty alleviation. Now we follow our team to Shantai County to mark the home stretch of China's journey to eradicate poverty. CGTN has been tracking developments in this county in southwest China's Sichuan province for the past 4 years. Joining us live are our own Zhou Yun and Jonathan Betts in Shantai's Zhanshan village. Guys, take it away.
Hey there, Wang Guang. So good to be with you tonight. Welcome to our special coverage of China's poverty alleviation efforts called The Last Mile. I'm Jonathan Betts.
Hello there, I'm Zoe. We're now reporting live from the Zhanshan village of Sichuan province, Shantai County.
It's a beautiful village here. We are perched just above it here as we look at these live pictures of the village all lit up at night for us, surrounded by date farms. Now, this is the 4th time our team has visited this part of rural China because we've been tracking the county's progress over the past 4 years ahead of the country's goal of eliminating extreme poverty by the end of this year.
Well, that's correct, Jonathan. And you know what? The postal services is a very important sector in China's poverty eradication efforts. Our colleague Ma Ke now joins us live from Liangshan, Yuexi County in Sichuan province. She's visiting a local logistics and postal service center. So hello there, Ma Ke. Can you tell us more about what work has been done locally to help the farmers get rid of poverty?
Well, yes, Zoe, as you know, the Liangshan agricultural resources. Actually, right here by my side is a patch of newly harvested apples, very carefully wrapped, packed, and ready for shipment. Actually, the post office today has received 200 boxes of this local specialty. But actually, the greatest challenges and the biggest difficulty for local, especially the impoverished, transportation expenses. Actually, the transportation expenses can be higher than the revenue sometimes. So farmers sometimes just don't bother to grow the apples and take them to the coastal areas.
And Ma Ke, looks like our signal there is not the best. Again, we are broadcasting from a very remote part of China. We'll try to connect with you later on in the show. But I want to move on to another focus here, and that is improving education for those who live outside of large cities in China. It's a major, major concern for a lot of people here. CGTN's reporter Meng Qingsheng takes us to a middle school in one of the poorest parts of the country for a closer look.
At Xide Middle School, these students are in English class. It's one of the 3 compulsory subjects tested on college entrance examinations. For Wenggu Shamo, the test is an opportunity to embrace a bigger world.
I'm in junior high school. My dream is to get into a senior high school and then into a college. My sister is a college student. She told me that the campus life is so colorful that I can do many things to improve myself.
Most of the 50 students in this class are ethnic people, and many of them are from poverty-ridden families.
We encourage students to work hard and achieve better performance. What we're doing here is to bring positive changes to a student, to a family, an ethnic group, and even a whole nation.
With special funding from the government, The school is able to provide free meals for students from poor families. Some of them are exempt from paying tuition fees and receive regular financial assistance. Xide remains one of the 7 counties in Liangshan still experiencing poverty. Here at this boarding school, over 1/3 of the 3,000 students come from the most impoverished families.
We've piloted a program of sending some of our students to middle schools in more developed regions where they have better chances of going to colleges. It allows them to realize an education gap and encourages them to work even harder.
When class finished, we followed Wu Shamo to her home in a village about 5 kilometers away. The family has 2 girls and 1 boy, all attending schools.
I've never attended schools in my life, but I wish that all my children receive high-quality education. I really hope that I could read Chinese characters, speak the language well, and expose myself to more new things.
Wu Shamo dreams of going to college and living a better life. Despite uncertainties, she's determined to make that dream come true. Meng Qingsheng, CGTN.
Continuing our discussion on China's campaign to eliminate poverty, we're now reporting live from Zhanshan village in Santai County of Sichuan province, right? And joining us now are 2 beautiful ladies. So one is Professor Zhang Chuanhong from China Agriculture University, and also Dr. Alexandra Capelletti, Associate Professor from Xi'an Jiaozhong and Liverpool University. So thank you so much both again for joining us. Let's start with you, Professor Zhang, because we know we're now in the very, very final stage to meet that goal, but still there are some challenges left, or what we call the hard bones, very, very hard bones. So according to what you have studied, what do you think are the biggest challenges in this battle, or the last mile of this battle?
We already have infrastructure in place. We already have social provision in place. And the hardest thing, I think, is to change people's mentality. Sometimes, it's particularly for people who live in remote areas. The living conditions is really hard, and they don't have access to clean water. And to provide these kind of basic living conditions for them is really costly. So the only choice probably is to relocate them. Sometimes they are worried because they feel uncertain about their future.
Yes.
So this needs a lot of patience for local government officials, and for community,
time for them
yes,
to think about,
to be
digest.
patient,
Yes.
and a series of follow-up policies need to be in place.
I mean, it's a difficult decision, certainly, because the government is asking a lot of people to leave homes that their families have been on for generations. So, Professor Capelletti, when we consider that, and we consider also education and access to education in a lot of these places, do you think the Chinese government is doing enough when it comes to that issue?
Yes, education is very important, and I connect what I'm saying to what Professor Zhang Chuanhong was saying, actually, to change people's mentality and to give them the motivation and the strength, the energy to move forward and to develop themselves, and also to accept compromises, because sometimes they need to compromise when they have to be relocated, for example. So education plays a central role in this aspect, under this aspect. And the central government is doing a lot, actually, in terms of infrastructure, for sure. Schools. I mean, I have many friends in rural areas who are very astonished by what they see now as schools, and they compare what the schools are now and what they were when they were small, and they are really, really surprised and very, very, very satisfied. In terms of quality of education, it's actually another issue, but also in this sense the government is moving forward and it's improving gradually. It's of course a long path.
I mean, because the argument is that is really the central pillar to this, frankly. Is that if you have a population that is not educated and does not have access to education, it's hard for anyone to get out of poverty. Okay, professors, we're going to talk more in a couple of minutes, so stay with us. We appreciate your insight and your time.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So one of China's strategies to eradicate poverty has been to peer cities in advanced regions with less developed areas. And our reporter Yang Jinghao reports on how that policy has helped students in Guizhou province with their education. Let's take a look.
Zhang Wen greets her students at the school gate every morning, giving them high fives and hugs. A teacher from Guangzhou, one of China's most developed cities, Zhang came to Nanyang County in 2018 to support local education. Her empathy and thoughtfulness have earned her the nickname Principal Mom.
Whenever the children call me mom, I feel a greater sense of responsibility. I tell myself that I had to do more to live up to their expectations.
Nanyang is one of the last counties to be taken off China's poverty list. For decades, education here has lagged behind due to its lack of development. But now, with the support from Guangzhou, change is in the air. With investment of about $6 million, this well-equipped school has started to enroll children from remote villages this year, and Zhan was assigned as its first principal.
The children here are actually smart. Their level of learning will improve once the teaching methods change. I don't mean to say the teachers are unqualified here, but in view of the tough circumstances, they need to be guided and inspired.
Many of the students are left behind children, meaning their parents are working away in the big cities.
Education is an effective way of preventing the intergenerational transmission of poverty. Through education, we can change a child, a family, and eventually bring change to the whole nation.
Zhan says she just hopes that by taking advantage of the power of the developed areas, she can help local principals and teachers become more capable, turning them into lighthouses that can illuminate the path of children towards a better future. Yang Jinghao, CGTN.
All right, so one component of this is education. Another is just selling your products to markets. Live streaming, short videos are very popular tools to help many farmers in China reach a very big audience. They're selling their products online.
Oh, exactly, Jonathan. Actually, what millions of farmers have been benefited from the e-commerce, and so many of them are stars on the digital platforms.
They are stars with huge followings. It's incredible. So to better understand this, we invited two stars to be with us here on the set. Zhang Dao and Tong Winshe. They sell vegetables and other types of food online. Live streaming has helped their business take off. They have over 1 million fans, by the way. Most of them are on a platform called Tuotiao.
Toutiao.
Yeah, I got it right.
Great.
I should know this after 4
Their
years.
fan space is much more than us combined.
Definitely much more than
just
mine.
Me, right? Right.
And by the way, another quick little factoid so you better understand them. One of their live streams sold a record 1 million yuan. That's about $142,000 US. So these are big numbers, folks. This can really change lives here.
That is amazing, exactly. So, welcome to. So, 首先呢是欢迎二位。我知道您经常是做这个网络直播，今天来到我们电视直播，紧不紧张？
紧张还是有一些紧张的。
So I have a few questions for both of you. 我有几个问题想问一下二位啊。那我们先问一下文学吧。就是您是大概什么时候开始做第一场直播的呢？
我们大概是从2018年开始的。随着我们的粉丝越来越多了，然后慢慢的就开始直播了。
We accumulate our fans, we
I'd like to know.
Live
by the way, thank you for translating. I appreciate that. I'd like to know more about how she sold her first product, what that was like, and how does it compare to now?
您当时卖的第一个产品是什么呢？然后现在的直播跟当时有什么不同？
我们当时卖的第一个产品就我们
老
家的土特产，我们的黄金皮蛋。然后发展到现在的话，可能会对这些大的品牌来合作。
As we develop, we cooperate with big brands.
Maybe it's not your favorite, huh?
Okay. I like the preserved eggs, yeah, in moderation.
Okay. I have another question. So, what prompted you to start, selling things online? 那您为什么要开始网络直播？有没有什么特别的动力啊，或者什么起始原因呢？
当时呢也没有想着要做直播带货这一块啊。后面呢，咱们就只想着把我家乡的一些土特产和好的东西介绍给大家。后来呢，就是随着我们粉丝越来越多了，做的加深，就把这个兴趣做成了职业。
I find all this work just so fascinating because they were talking to me earlier. They used to have a auto parts factory where they would make molds for auto parts. They gave that up about 2 years ago and turned to live streaming. That became their full-time business. Married couple for 5 years. This is what they do. So how do they divide the work when it comes to these live stream broadcasts?
那直播的时候，您和您先生的这个大概的分工是什么样的呢？
因为呢，我们两个是夫妻档。
We
我先生
cooperated
道哥的
at
话，
the
他
very
主要是
beginning.
负责
My
拍摄、
husband
剪辑以
do
及
the
幕后的
filming,
运营这
editing,
一块。
and the
我
business
呢，主要负
operation
责
behind the
视频的
scenes.
时候出镜，然后还有
And
直播
I
带
do
货
the
这一块。
promotion in front of
You
the
know, I can
camera.
just tell how they divide work because she's clearly the star of the
Yeah.
family,
You
and
can tell
he's
the
like behind
personality.
the scene, doing all the camera work, editing work. But let's go talk to the husband a little bit, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's bring him in.
So 道哥 right? That's how she called you. 这是他是那个文学是这么称呼您道哥是吧？您能跟我分享一点，在这个直播过程中这几年有没有特别让您印象深刻的事儿呢？
印象比较深刻就是这几年吧，参加了一系列的
The most impressive
带货的公益
moment
活动。
for me was that we attended many poverty alleviating events and we were awarded excellent anti-poverty stars.
非常的记忆犹新。
And is the job difficult? I mean, it's got to have its challenging moments, right? I'd like to know more about that, some of the tough moments they have. It's got to be also kind of scary because you're selling online, so it also depends on, frankly, customers buying. So it's got to fluctuate when it comes to sales.
Right. 比如说在这个过程中有没有觉得特别难的事儿呢？
刚开始我们做的时候，因为
When
订
the
单量比较
business
少，
starts, we had very few
那个
orders,
快递单价比较高，跟
and
物
the
流公司去
logistic
谈
costs
判
was
非
high.
常的不顺利。
We had
后来呢，
unsmooth
就
negotiation
通过
with
自己
the
的努力，还有我
logistic
们
companies
县商务局
as we
领导
work
的助
harder
力，后来
and
用
help
我
from
们
the
的
local Bureau of
实力
Commerce,
收服了他
and
们。
we proved to these
That's
companies that we were
amazing to see
worthy
how this
partners.
young couple are working so hard, but I think that's enough talking. We should see how them, how they actually sell the products and been preparing. So, 那我们先谈到这儿，咱们去看一看，比如说在一个真实的带货情况下，您到底是怎么工作的，好吗？来，我们一起看一看。
We've got a whole setup set up over here to give you guys an idea of what it's like, because this is a very interesting concept. I think a lot of people outside China may not fully understand. They have a cell phone set up with a ring light.
That's the lighting for the lady.
The lighting
to
for
make
the
her
lady.
Amazing online.
Absolutely. That's a good light. That works. And the idea is that she just pitches to the camera, just pitches her products and sells all these things. And it's extremely popular in China. People really react to this kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So let's get an idea of China, kind of how it works, what she says, what she shows off, and what she's most proud of.
那要不然先您给我们介绍一下这个您今天带来的主要的什么样的货物，然后呢哪一些卖的特别好？
这里简单说一下，这个地方呢
I'll have a
都是我
simple
们平时会
instruction.
卖的一
These
些
are
东
all
西，
the
因为这
products
些
we
产
sell
品全是我老
in
家
our
这边
daily
的土特
business.
产。
These are our
然
special
后卖
products
的
from
特别好的呢，
the
有一
local
个
town. The
黄金
best
皮蛋，
seller
还有一
is
个
the
我们的铜川
preserved
豆豉。
duck egg
这个
and
皮蛋的
the
话，简
fermented
单的来说呢
soybean.
就是我们用鸭蛋制作而成
This
的，它的
is
外表
a
是这个样子
duck
的。
egg.
剥开之后呢，它是这种
When
金
it
黄
is
金黄的
peeled,
色
it
泽
looks。
吃完
golden.
之后的话，它是那种唇齿留
The
香的
fragrance
感
would
觉，
linger
就它可以用来
even
凉
when you
拌，也
finish
可以
it.
用来煮汤、煮粥，都是可以的。
It can be used
That's
in
amazing.
porridges
And look
and
at your
dressed with
face, like
sauces.
amazing face.
I love the energy. I love the enthusiasm she brings. So I'm assuming these are preserved duck eggs, correct? And I'm assuming that these are the most popular product for her.
这个是卖的最好的这个黄
然后
金便蛋，是不是？还有呢？
是的，还有一个呢，就是这个我要
Another
重点的
product
介绍一下咱们的铜川豆豉，这个是我们三台县非常有特色的一个特产，它有着300年的历史了，被誉为国家非物质文化遗产。用这款豆豉来炒肉，非常非常的香。
Yeah, you're gonna love it when it cooks with, the pork slice or what.
Yeah, I mean these are traditional products, right, to this part of China. And is there a reason why she chose these particular products here?
比如说您今天带来的这些货，为什么会选择这些货品来进行到网上去卖呢？
首先呢，因为它都是我们老家的特产，其实我们是特别愿意为老家做一些事情的。
We are very willing to pay back to our
我们自己就要为自己的
hometown.
老家代言嘛。
Did you notice that when the lady is talking and the husband just keeps nodding and say yes, yes? I think that's how they divide their work. This is amazing because for a team we need to work together, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So
one man holds the camera, and
what
she
is most
pitches.
interesting stuff to you?
So I think I actually find the preserved duck eggs really fascinating, actually, because one of the things I frankly am thinking about is that's got to be a difficult product to sell, meaning they ship it. They ship this, I'm assuming, within China and maybe even outside China. So it's got to be difficult to pack. I'd worry about the eggs breaking. It's quite a...
That's a very good question.
Yeah, it's quite a process here.
比如说您卖这个便当，比如在这个运输的过程中，它可能会破碎，对吧？那我们怎么去保存它，或者怎么去包装它，来保证它在运输的过程中啊，还可以保证它的这个品质？
对，这个便当它的运输特别是比较麻烦的。我们的话会用这种泡沫。 种2-3层的泡沫来把它包起来，
kind of boxes
然后
to pack it.
收到之后呢，是把它通
Upon
风阴
receiving,
凉来保存。
we play it in cool places.
如果后期有损坏的话，我们都是按个来赔偿的。
If there is any broken eggs, we would compensate the buyers.
是的，所以现在您的货是卖到了全国各地是吗？
对，全国各地。
未来说不定通过我们的直播可以卖到世界各地。
I like it. Well, it's quite impressive. Thank you guys for coming in and chatting with us. Really appreciate it. They got a lot of things here. It's not just eggs, it's oils, it's more paste. I mean, just all sorts of different products.
You like Sichuan food, right? These are the ingredients you need to buy for cooking Sichuan food.
And Sichuan food is, just for people know, is extremely popular food in China. I mean, it's
and in the States, like mapo tofu,
definitely.
like spicy chicken with broccoli.
Absolutely, and so yeah, that's why like it's a major appeal here is that you're selling local food from Sichuan all over China. So, you know, when we talk about e-commerce and live streaming, these online platforms, we have to talk about this one site in particular. It's called Ulucom. It's launched with China Post and the internet company Tom Group. The idea is that it connects farmers, shopkeepers in rural parts of China with people all over the country, particularly in the big cities. So let's bring in our reporter Xu Xinqin, who's standing by live with more on this site. Xinqin, what can you tell us?
Sure, I'm currently at one of the showroom displaying all the agricultural specialty products here from the Sentec County. The showroom is built by the Ulucom, owned by China Post. But I need to say this, Jonathan and Joey, and those live stream stars and farmers that grow their business online, they are great, they are brilliant. You know, I've been doing live TV for a decade, but I would say I cannot achieve what they have done on the internet with their sales volumes. And as I mentioned, this is the showroom for the Ulucom, owned by China Post, a e-commerce platform to distribute products from Sentec County. As we have learned about those live stream channels for farmers to grow their business, but of course, we need distribution and logistics that can brought in by, for example, by China Post. And in this room, it has a pretty good collection of local specialties. This is a literature root. I think during the past years reporting here in Sentec, I've been falling in love with this little herb here. Just put the operation into the perspective, I want to show some numbers. And we have real-time data right over here. And right over there, that's the total sale volumes of the first 3 quarters this year. And despite the COVID-19, it's a special year this year. But the total sale volume for the first 3 quarters, just on this platform alone here with products from Sentec County, it reached almost $20 million US. Not bad, I would say. But that's just all the numbers. It has like thousands of shops on the internet and with farmers, you know, posting their products from this very county and to reach a bigger consumer market. And to learn more about the operation behind Ulu.com and how the logistics and distribution works, and join with us is Ms. Tang Yang. She is in charge of the whole operation of China Post e-commerce operation here in Sentec County, and welcome to our program. So, Ms. Tom, let's talk about like what are some of the best-selling products on Ulu.com and how far can these products reach? 就是唐主任，首先我们想了解一下，我们现在目前卖的最好的产品有哪一些，然后我们最远能卖到哪儿呢？
The best product we sold are those specialties. For example, the rice-made products or the oranges, the red oranges. In terms of the transaction volume, those are the best sold products, agriculture products. And China Post has nationwide logistics network. Also in our village, we have e-commerce center. So by combining those forces, we sell nationwide. Basically, we cover the whole nation.
Definitely that we can see products from this very county can now be distributed and shared with a wider customer base across China. But what about the turnouts, like the results in lifting people out of poverty? And I've saw like thousands of local farmers have been posting their products. So what's the employment situation and what's the turnover of the platform? 就唐主任，我们现在带动就业和我们的经济效益是怎样的呢？
我们
For this moment, in the whole county, we have about 6,000 internet agents added by the delivery man. We basically could help cover the whole industry chain by relying on the e-commerce platform, and we could create 10,000 job opportunities in this business. As to the turnover and revenues, we invite the workers in to help us, and added by the logistics personnel, they create a lot of value based on their labor. For the personnel working in the logistics, their salary is about 5,000 to 6,000 RMB yuan. And if you are staff members in the enterprises, or if you're doing related jobs like transportation by relying on the e-commerce, then your salary will be 2 to 3.
Thank you so much, Ms. Tang. 谢谢您，唐主任. So definitely what can see it's not just the farmers or business owners here that are benefiting from the e-commerce channels. It's also about more employments, those delivery men and etc. who are working for China Post. And I need to mention this again. I've been bringing up this number several times during my 2 days report here in Santa County. According to the county government, they've already reached the 0% poverty rate by the end of 2019. That included people not just from the downtown area of the county, but also people from more remote villages that used to have a double-digit poverty rate. So the big challenge still ahead of us is how to make these people remain out of poverty. So e-commerce is definitely building a channel and improve logistic capabilities to not just distributing more products to a wider customer base, but also creating a supply chain and creating an ecosystem that can actually create jobs and make more people employed. Jonathan.
Indeed, Xu Shenchen, exactly. The question is, once they're out of poverty, how do you make sure they don't slip back in? Okay, thank you so much for that live report. Appreciate it.
Well, Jonathan, just as our story goes, the internet has opened Santai to a much bigger market nationwide and maybe even possibly to the world in the future, right? And this, along with seamless logistics center and network, ensures that local products can be delivered on time. So to learn more about how e-commerce runs in Santai, we're now joined by Dong Zhenghong, who's the Executive Deputy County Chief of Santai County. So thank you so much for coming, Dong 县长，欢迎您。那首先, so first of all, can you share with us about the advantages that Santai have in this e-commerce development? 那比如说，在我们目前的这样一个高速发展的电商的时代，您觉得三台有哪些优势呢？
应该说，三台是这个
Santai County is one of the first counties to invite e-commerce in. We have already have 398 e-commerce branches. We integrated the postal services in the e-commerce to benefit the villagers without having to go out of the village. Sales, logistics, inclusive finance, even telephone fare payment. We have a very solid foundation for e-commerce development. We will seize opportunities to complete the e-commerce network so as to promote the logistic business and agricultural product manufacturing. For example, Santai County is a large county of live pig production and dwarf lily turf. We have a national live pig Sichuan market and lily turf online market. These two platforms increased the sales volume of these two products and further boosting these two industries. And I believe these are the advantages of Santai County.
And so when you pull out here and you look at the big picture, just how much of an impact has live streaming had on Santai's development?
您能不能给我们讲一个，比如从更加宏观的一个角度，像电商发展啊、直播带货啊，对于三台的经济发展带来了哪些变化和作用呢？
比如说通过这个直播带货，
through live streaming. From the macroeconomy situation, it was not very good, and there was the COVID-19 pandemic influence. Through e-commerce and live streaming promotion, it expands the sales channels of the products. The online sales volume reached 30 million yuan this year. This is compared with the past, it is a very good achievement.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, appreciate that. Well, I really want to focus on this industry because it's very fascinating and see how e-commerce is helping get many people out of poverty here in China.
China uses many methods in its fight against poverty, such as boosting tourism and technological development. But today, let's talk about the most on-trend one, e-commerce. The boost in e-commerce is closely linked to infrastructure building. By June 2020, nearly 97% of villages in China were covered by express delivery services, and all 832 poverty-stricken counties have established their own digital business service centres. The internet enables farmers to reach potential customers thousands of kilometres away. In 2019, the online retail sales in poverty-stricken counties reached just over 239 billion yuan, which is about 35 billion US dollars. That's a 33% increase from 2018. E-commerce has benefited around 5 million farmers in their day-to-day lives. During the era of the pandemic, e-commerce has also showed its great potential. During the hardest hit months from January to June, there was still around 2 billion yuan in sales of agricultural products from poorer regions.
The role of live streaming is helping farmers out of poverty can never be underestimated, especially when social distancing restrictions due to the pandemic have impacted the usual ways of doing businesses. And we're now coming to you live from Zhanshan village at Santai County from Sichuan province with our guest, Dr. Alexandra Capilati, who's the associate professor at Xi'an Jiaotong Liverpool University, and also Zhang Chuanhong, who's the associate professor from China Agricultural University. So thank you so much for joining us again. Well, I want to ask you, Professor Capilati, what do you think are the roles of live streaming and also e-commerce in helping the economic development to villages and counties like Santai?
Yes, it's a very important situation because it gives farmers and residents the possibility to get an online identity and to enter a community, which is very important to market their products. And the branding is a very important part when you are in business, and they are entering business in a contemporary society where if you are not on the web, you don't exist. So it's very important for them to enter this new world, and not even so new actually anymore.
Right.
So
yeah, it's been around for a few years. I mean, that's a great point. If you're not on the web, you don't exist. Professor Zhang, the question is, in rural parts of China, how do you get on the web if there's no Wi-Fi, if there's no infrastructure, if there's not highways to deliver your pickled eggs to markets in Beijing? How do you make that happen? Do you think China is doing enough to try to connect its people, particularly the ones in very, very remote villages who I'm sure would love to be on these live streaming platforms?
Yes, I think, the infrastructure I mentioned for internet and for highway is there, even in some remote areas. And I think the problem is the software part. We need to build the capacity for young people and to regulate this market, to provide quality products to consumers, so this kind of business can be sustained. And another thing is, for e-commerce, they can attract quite a lot of young people. Even the migrant workers who have experiences in city, they know what the consumers want. So I don't worry about the infrastructure. I know, according to statistics provided by Alibaba, it's old data. It says in national level poverty counties in China, there were over 330,000 net spots just for this kind of e-business. So the coverage is huge, and it
is amazing.
Yeah, it has brought a huge volume of sales benefits to the poverty-stricken people.
It is stunning when you look back at it, just the power of the internet and how it has really transformed not just the world, but particularly China, and very, very quickly. Okay, Professor Zhang, Professor Cappelletti, thank you both for your time tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And with that, we're going to wrap up our special coverage today on China's poverty eradication, the last mile, bring to you live from Sichuan Province, Santai County.
So as a light mist falls on us as we wrap up our show, we're going to send it back to you in Beijing, Wang Guang.
Jonathan Zhou-Yun, thank you so much for bringing us all these fantastic reports. Tomorrow, our team in Santai will look at how the poverty eradication campaign has changed the villagers' lives there, and we'll talk to them about the ambitious visions they have for their future. Stay tuned.